Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. We are doing the chapter Law and Social Justice, and under this chapter, we are doing enforcement of safety laws. As we have started our discussion about this subtopic in the previous class, and we have seen that the government is there to ensure that the safety laws are implemented by the companies, the private company, be it the private company or the foreign company, whatever organization is there, it must follow some safety law, and the government is there to ensure that these safety laws are implemented. And our constitution also gives us right to life under Article 21. And right to life is meaningless if safety laws are not implemented. So it is the responsibility of the government. But here the question comes, what was the government doing when there were such blatant violation of safety standard and the UC plants? As we have discussed in the previous class, that there was no monitoring system, no computerized system of alarm and all was existing in the unit of Bhopal of Union Carbide. Then we have seen that the night shift workers post was also abolished. The period of training was also shortened from 6 months to 15 days only. And not only this, we find that yes, there was reduction of the number of workers in the crew also. So all these, why all these were done? Because we find that the safety laws were lax in India. In our country, safety laws are very lax. And second thing is that mm, these weak safety laws were not enforced. एक तो safety laws बहुत ही weak है, और जो weak है उसको भी enforcement नहीं किया जाता है. So what we find, what happened with this MIC production unit, that there were government officials who refused to recognize the plant as hazardous and allowed it to come up in a populated locality. This is highly objectionable because the company was producing pesticides, which is a toxic material. So it was a hazardous plant, but it was not recognized as hazardous plant, and it was allowed to come up in a populated locality. Okay, and there were municipal officials of Bhopal who were of the opinion that MIC production unit should not be installed in a populated locality. It was against the safety rules, safety measures. But the government was of the opinion that it is that the government was of the opinion that if investment comes in the state, it will improve the economic condition of the state, it will create new job opportunities, and it will lead to economic development. So and the government was not ready to ask UC to shift to cleaner technology or to safer procedure. They were ready, the government was ready to accept everything whatever UC was doing. Government inspectors were there. They used to go to the UC plant, and they continued to approve the procedure in the plant, while the procedures were not accurate. While we find that such incident of leakage was happening earlier also, and everybody was knowing that something wrong is happening, but it was not corrected at the proper time, and the result was this tragedy. So we find this condition is prevailing, and we know that government is a law making agency, government is a law enforcement agency. It is the prime duty of the government to do all this, but the government is not protecting the interest of the people. The government completely ignored the safety of its people, and we cannot expect from a private company to pay attention to the safety requirement of the people when the government is not paying any attention to the safety requirement of the people, why the private company will take care of that? है ना? Private company is there only to make profit. So this kind of condition is there, and this is not at all desirable. We find that with more industries being set up both by local and foreign businesses in India, there is a great need for stronger laws which can protect the workers' right, and there is need of better enforcement of these laws, because we have adopted this what we call a new economic policy. And according to new economic policy, now the foreign investment is done very easily. So nowadays, so many number of new companies are coming into India. So many foreign companies are investing in India. So it is very much important, it is very much needed that there must be stronger laws for the protection of the interest of the workers, protection of the rights of the worker, and these laws must be enforced. And now we see new laws to protect the environment. Now the government has made some new laws in order to protect the environment. Okay, in 1984, there were very few laws which protect the environment in India, because at that time there was not so much concern for the environment. है ना? And very few laws were there, and if laws were there, they were not enforced. है ना? उसका enforcement भी नहीं हो रहा था. और ये माना जाता था कि जो environment है, that is a free gift of nature. है ना? This mentality was there, that the environment was a free gift of nature, and we have every right to pollute it. We have every right to pollute the air, water without any restrictions. है ना? So we find that everything was very easily done, whether it was our rivers, air, groundwater, the environment was being polluted, and subsequently the health of the people disregarded, because if the environment is polluted, that is ultimately going to affect the health of the people. है ना? एयर खराब हो गया, एयर की क्वालिटी खराब हो गई, वाटर polluted हो गया, ग्राउंड वाटर में pollution चला गया, तो all these are going to affect the life of the human being, and that was happening. है ना? So we see that this UC, Union Carbide, it was a beneficiary of lower safety standards. Lower safety standards हमारी कंट्री में फॉलो किया जा रहा था, एंड द कंपनी वॉज गेटिंग बेनिफिट फ्रॉम दिस लोअर सेफ्टी स्टैंडर्ड, क्योंकि अब उसको खर्च करने की ज़्यादा ज़रूरत नहीं थी सेफ्टी मेजर्स पे इन अ कंट्री लाइक इंडिया, बिकॉज आर सेफ्टी स्टैंडर्ड्स वर वेरी लो. है ना? तो if this unit was in USA or in any other developed country, then the Union Carbide company has to spend a lot of money for maintaining the safety standard. But in India, they didn't have to spend any money to clean up the pollution. है ना? And this was the benefit. This was the reason why we find that these companies, they set up their units in countries like India. हम्म. सो भोपाल में जो कुछ भी हुआ, उसने इस इशू को भी सामने लाया कि एनवायरनमेंट इज नीडेड टू बी प्रोटेक्टेड. हाँ, वर्कर्स की सेफ्टी इज इम्पॉर्टेंट, एंड इट इज़ वेरी मच इम्पॉर्टेंट दैट सच काइंड ऑफ hazardous unit should not be set up in a populated area. But at the same time, it is also required that there must be some laws for the protection of the environment, बिकॉज भोपाल में जो हुआ उससे लोगों की जान गई, वर्कर्स की जान गई, और एनवायरनमेंट को भी बहुत ज़्यादा हार्म हुआ. सो इट शुड नॉट बी रिपीटेड. एंड वी फाइंड दैट पीपल जो थे उनको ये समझ में आया कि जो अभी जो लॉ है हमारे यहाँ, दिस लॉ इज़ नॉट सफिशियंट. है ना? ये वीक है, laws are weak, and they are only covering the individual workers, and they are not covering those persons who might be injured due to industrial accident. So there is need of change in the in the laws regarding the safety of the workers. So we see that there was pressure from the environmental activists and others, and especially after this Bhopal gas tragedy, and we find that the Indian government introduced new laws on the environment, and now the polluter is will be held accountable for the damage which is done to the environment. And the environment is something that people over generations will share. It is not a free gift of nature. Actually, nowadays this new idea is generated that the environment is taken from our future generation as a loan, and we have to give it back to the this generation in a way, in that shape, in that way in which we have taken from them, है ना, जिस रूप में हमने उनसे लिया था उसी रूप में हमें उन्हें वापस करना है. So it is very much important that the environment must be protected. Okay. And we see that other than the lawmaking power of the government, the judiciary is also involved in protecting the environment, in protecting the rights of the workers. And in this regard, we see that one Subhas Kumar versus State of Bihar. This case was there. Subhas Kumar versus State of Bihar, which was held in the year 1991. And in this, the Supreme Court was of the opinion that the right to life is a fundamental right under Article 21 of the Constitution. है ना, राइट टू लाइफ हमें कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन देता है अंडर आर्टिकल 21, एंड दिस इज आर फंडामेंटल राइट. इसमें कोई कंट्रोवर्सी नहीं है. आगे जो वर्डिक्ट है सुप्रीम कोर्ट का वो ये है कि इसके अंदर राइट टू लाइफ के अंदर ये भी राइट हमारा इंक्लूड होता है कि राइट टू द एन्जॉयमेंट ऑफ पॉल्यूशन फ्री वाटर and air for full enjoyment of life. If we want to enjoy the life completely, what is important that uh, we must get pure air and pure water, and that is very much required. So this is also a right, that right to the enjoyment of pollution free water and air under right to life. है ना? And for this, the government is responsible. It is the responsibility of the government to set up laws and procedures which can check pollution, clean rivers, and introduce heavy fines for those who pollute. है ना? How will we execute, how will we enforce the laws? By making this provision of punishment. है ना, अगर आप फाइन की पनिशमेंट लगा देंगे तो फिर वहाँ पर लॉज को फॉलो किया जाएगा. एंड नाउ वी विल सी एनवायरनमेंट एज अ पब्लिक फैसिलिटी. है ना, we see that now the courts have become very much active in this regard, and it is delivering such judgment which says that mm, mm, that the government must do something very concrete and strict for environment, है ना. But what we find that whenever sometimes it happens that the judgment which is given in favor of the environment becomes against the the interest of the people. It harms the uh, people's livelihood adversely. The verdict of the court, which is for the environment, sometimes such verdict harms the people's livelihood. How? We have one example, and you will be able to understand it by example. Okay. So, what is the example? The court directed industries in residential areas in Delhi to close down or shift out of the city. It was the direction of the court कि जो भी इंडस्ट्रीज रेसिडेंशियल एरिया में है दिल्ली में, या तो वो बंद कर दें या फिर वो वहाँ से निकल जाए. they should shift out of the city because that is residential area, it is not meant for industrial units. Okay, so what happened that why this judgment came, because we find that several of these industries were polluting the neighborhood. From these industries we find that discharge हो रहा था टॉक्सिक वाटर, केमिकल वाले वाटर को, जिसको कि यमुना में मिल जा रही थी। तो they, because they were polluting air, they were polluting water, so and they have been set up without following the rules. So now this judgment was given by the Supreme Court that they should either they should close down or shift out of the city. Okay, so we find that yes, the decision of the court was very good because it was for the environment, for the protection of the environment. For the protection of the environment, this decision was taken by the government that the industrial units which are set up in populated areas should be closed down or shift out of that place. So it solved one problem, but on the other hand, it created another problem. How another problem was created? If suppose the factory is closed down, then what will happen? So many workers who are working there, they will lose their jobs, they will lose their livelihood, है ना? And if it is not closed, मान लो suppose करो, it is now situated, it is now shifted to some other place, है ना? जो कि दूर होगा, because populated area में वो नहीं होगा. So now the workers will be forced to go to far away places, है ना? Because now these are relocated. So now the workers will be required to go to these far away places. तो उनकी हार्डशिप बढ़ जाएगी, है ना? एंड हार्डशिप बढ़ जाएगी, और फिर क्या होगा, जो नए प्लेसेस में वो लोग हैं वो भी फिर थोड़े दिनों बाद वो भी पॉल्यूट होने लगेगा, है ना? और जो सेफ्टी कंडीशंस है वर्कर्स का, वो तो वैसे ही रह जाएगा, उसके बारे में कुछ किया ही नहीं जा सकेगा. सो कोर्ट के इस ऑर्डर से कोई एक्चुअली देखा जाए तो बहुत ज़्यादा फायदा नहीं हो रहा है. एक एक प्रॉब्लम को आप सॉल्व कर रहे हैं, दूसरी प्रॉब्लम आप क्रिएट कर रहे हैं, है ना? सो वी सी दैट whenever when it is in research, when research is done for this, that in our country there is concern for the environment among the middle class, and we see that the growing concern, yes, the growing concern for the environment among the middle class is often at the expense of the पुअर. ठीक है ना? पुअर के कॉस्ट पे मिडिल क्लास जो है वो एनवायरनमेंट के लिए कंसर्न शो करता है. लाइक वी हैव एग्जांपल अगेन, स्लम्स. स्लम्स वेयर द पुअर, द लोअर क्लास लिव्स. तो स्लम्स नीड्स टू बी क्लीन्ड एज अ पार्ट ऑफ सिटीज ब्यूटिफिकेशन ड्राइव. स्लम्स को साफ किया जाए, है ना? अब क्या हो रहा है, एक पॉल्यूटिंग फैक्ट्री जो है वो सिटी के आउटस्कर्ट पे जा रहा है यहाँ से हट करके. तो ये क्या हो रहा है कि जैसे स्लम्स की सफाई हो रही है, क्या मतलब हुआ कि वहाँ पे स्लम नहीं रहेंगे, क्योंकि उसके कारण शहर का ब्यूटिफिकेशन नहीं हो पा रहा है, शहर गंदा लग रहा है ना? सो स्लम्स को हटाने की जो बात होती है, तो स्लम को तो आपने हटा दिया, है ना? शहर आपका साफ हो गया, पॉल्यूशन फ्री हो गया, गंदगी नहीं है, बट उतने सारे लोग जो स्लम्स में रह रहे थे उनके लिए बहुत बड़ी हार्डशिप हो गई, है ना? उसी तरह से अगर आपने फैक्ट्री को पॉपुलेटेड एरिया से दूर ले जाकर के फिक्स कर दिया, सेटअप डिसलोकेट रिलोकेट कर दिया, तो क्या होगा कि ठीक है, अच्छी बात है, वो होगा, पॉल्यूशन के लिए वो अच्छा है, एनवायरनमेंट के लिए अच्छा है, लेकिन ये किसके कॉस्ट पे हो रहा है? वर्कर्स के कॉस्ट पे, है ना? तो जो हमारा एनवायरनमेंट के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा कंसर्न होता है, वो हम पुअर के कॉस्ट पे उस एनवायरनमेंट के कंसर्न को पूरा करते हैं, है ना? एंड वी फाइंड कि जो चैलेंज है हमारे सामने वो ये है कि सॉल्यूशन क्या है. ऐसा कोई सॉल्यूशन निकाले जिससे कि everyone can benefit from a clean environment. क्लीन एनवायरनमेंट चाहिए सबको, लेकिन एक के कॉस्ट पे दूसरे को ना मिले, पुअर के कॉस्ट पे बाकी लोगों को ना मिले। हम कुछ ऐसा रास्ता अपनाएं कि पुअर भी उसमें नुकसान वाली जगह पे ना हो, है ना? तो कैसे, इसके लिए क्या तरीका है? द बेस्ट वे इज टू मूव टू क्लीनर टेक्नोलॉजी एंड प्रोसेसेस इन फैक्ट्रीज। जो भी आपकी फैक्ट्रीज है उसमें क्लीनर टेक्नोलॉजी को अडॉप्ट करिए। ठीक है, ऐसे प्रोसेसेस अडॉप्ट करिए जिससे कि पॉल्यूशन कम से कम हो। क्लीनर टेक्नोलॉजी ऐसे होते हैं जिससे कि आप पॉल्यूशन को बहुत कम कर सकते हैं, बट वो कॉस्टली होते हैं, है ना? और इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट को फाइनेंशियल हेल्प भी देनी होगी। आपको एनकरेज तो करना ही है, फाइनेंशियल हेल्प भी देना होगा, है ना? और साथ ही साथ गवर्नमेंट को एनफोर्समेंट करना होगा कि अगर कोई भी पॉल्यूशन से रिलेटेड नियम को नहीं मान रहा है तो उसको आप फाइन दीजिए। दिस विल इंश्योर दैट द वर्कर्स लाइवलीहुड आर प्रोटेक्टेड। एंड इससे क्या हो रहा है कि आपको ये समझ में आ रहा है कि वर्कर्स के लाइवलीहुड को आपने प्रोटेक्ट कर लिया है ना? एंड बोथ वर्कर्स एंड कम्युनिटीज लिविंग अराउंड द फैक्ट्री एंजॉय अ सेफ्टी एनवायरनमेंट। जो कोई भी रह रहा है फैक्ट्री के आसपास उसको एक सेफ्टी एनवायरनमेंट देना बहुत ज़रूरी है। ओके, सो दिस इज़ ऑल फॉर टुडे।